Welcome back to One Piece Explained. 2023 was an unprecedented year for One Piece between the manga, the anime, and more recently, the live-action series. We are in an incredible time to be a One Piece fan, so I wanted to look back on the year and quickly go through some of my favorite moments from it. My subscribers know that I don't actually do these kinds of top 10 lists here on this channel, but as we wrap up 2023, I wanted to reflect on what made this year so great for One Piece and figured this would be the best way to relay this information. I'd also love to hear what you think, so let me know your favorite One Piece moments of 2023 in the comments. Real quick, over 90% of people who watch my channel are not subscribed, so if you've enjoyed any of my videos such as the in-depth live action breakdowns or the weekly manga breakdowns, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It helps to support me and grow the channel, and you'll also be able to get my videos as soon as they come out. So with all that said, let's get into it. Off the bat, I want to do an honorable mention for two events that I myself did not get to participate in, but was a big step for the series as a whole, with One Piece on Ice and the collaboration with the American football team, the Los Angeles Rams. One Piece on Ice was an ice show retelling the Alabasta arc that ran in Japan from August through September, and more recently at the start of December, the Los Angeles Rams collaborated with One Piece, giving out various themed merch as well as debuting a special video in celebration of the series. Both of these events only speaks to how big One Piece has gotten as a franchise and is now translating to new physical mediums. The LA Rams collab in particular is a huge testament to how the series is now viable in the United States, something that wasn't the case even just less than a decade ago. Now, let's get into my top 10 moments. Coming in at number 10 for me would have to be the return of the ending themes in the anime with Raised by Chili Beans. If you weren't aware, the last time we had an ending song in the anime was in 2006 with episode 278. For some more context, that was in the middle of the Enies Lobby arc. After all this time, it looks like ending themes are here to stay, as we'll have a new one for the Egghead arc, named Dear Sunrise with episode 1089. I can't wait to get into that arc in the anime as we finish it up over here in the manga. This past Thanksgiving, Monkey D. Luffy joined the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. This parade is a long-held American tradition going back almost 100 years to 1924 and takes place in New York City every year. Much like the LA Rams collab, this was another huge testament for One Piece's rising popularity in the United States, as the Luffy balloon joined other Japanese franchises that have become household names in the West, like Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon. Seeing Luffy float down the street on live television really put things into perspective for me for how far this series has come. Of course, there was the whole situation with the balloon being pierced by a tree branch, but at the very least, only the hat deflated and the rest looked fine. Still a win in my book. Hopefully, this thing is patched up and sticks around for the years to come. Moving on to the anime, one of my favorite episodes of the year had to be episode 1066. Now admittedly, I don't keep up with the anime that much, I'm mostly just a manga reader, but this episode was what made me finally tune into the adaptation of Wano. This episode was directed by Henry Thurlow and covers the climax of the Kid and Law fight versus Big Mom, one of my favorite parts of the Wano arc. I remember reading chapter 1039, the source material this episode adapts, and being left in awe at the threat Big Mom imposed, even while being put on the back foot by Kid and Law throughout the battle. Between her fixing her bones and infusing them with her own soul and ripping off part of the wall she was magnetized to, I loved how Big Mom continued to be a real force worthy of the status of an emperor all the way until the end. On top of that, in this episode we got a crazy sequence showing off Law's teleportation as he zips around Big Mom, but almost as if it was from his perspective, with the background changing while his body remains. It's some incredible work by Henry and the rest of the animators, and I wholeheartedly recommend checking this one out if you haven't already. Over on the manga side, chapter 1089 titled Hostage Situation was truly a remarkable chapter for me. For some context, the last chapter that we had spent any time on Egghead was with chapter 1079 back on March 26th. Since then, Oda had gone around the world showing us various characters and what they were up to. He even took a month-long break after chapter 1086 in mid-June and returned on July 16th with chapter 1087 and the following week with chapter 1088. These two chapters wrapped up Garp and Sword's attack on Full Lead to rescue Kobe, and by all means were some fantastic chapters that easily could have made it on this list. In fact, 1087 was the first manga breakdown I uploaded on this channel, but following 1088, we had a 2-week break after being teased about our long-awaited return to Egghead. It was almost half a year at this point since we had last seen the Straw Hats. The chapter was a bit of a slow burn, continuing to go around the world as we saw the aftermath of the destruction of Lucia, which, all things considered, spawned so many new questions and theories. we eventually returned to Egghead, where we learned a night had passed and got a mini review of everyone's location and what the status was, before hearing this conversation between York and the elders going over her list of demands. Incredible pacing here from Oda as the reader is lulled into this conversation back and forth, only to flip the page and boom, we learn the Straw Hats had overcome the situation off screen. This was an unprecedented event in a series, as we've never really had so much of the main story just skipped over like this, despite all of the lingering questions. And while I think this would not have worked at any prior point in the story, here it really cemented the fact that the Straw Hat crew in its entirety was an Emperor's crew capable of such feats. And of course, while this triumph would not last long, this week felt like a new high point in the series, showing off the growth of our main characters. I remember jumping out of my chair when I turned that page in complete joy, and for that, this chapter definitely deserves a place on my year-end list. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on this chapter, I have a full breakdown for it linked below, along with all of the other videos I may reference throughout this. Just a few weeks ago during Jump Festa, a new anime adaptation titled The One Piece was announced for Netflix by Wit Studios in collaboration with Toei Animation. Now I know I said I'm not the biggest fan of the anime, but I am excited for this one. Two anime adaptations of the same source material running at the same time is very rare, but One Piece is an anomaly of a manga if there ever was one. Having been serialized for over 2 decades at this point without any real reboots or spin-offs, One Piece is very hard to get into, especially for younger viewers or readers. Much like the live action did, this anime will be key in bringing new fans into the series. We live in an era where modern anime is mostly seasonal and released digitally, as opposed to the weekly network broadcast format that One Piece is still beholden to. And as such, modern era anime adaptations don't have to deal with things like filler or recap episodes. They don't have to stretch things out for time or padding, and more importantly, they have more time to work on each episode. This new adaptation of One Piece will be a great jumping on point for potential new fans who have wanted to engage with the series but just couldn't get into it, whether it was due to length or quality issues. And personally, I'm just curious to see what this will look like. Will there be any liberties taken or new material that can be done with all of the secrets and reveals that we know now about the series today? This could be a lot of fun, and I'll definitely be covering it on this channel whenever it eventually comes out. My final anime-related entry in this list is, of course, the arrival of Gear 5th in the anime. From episodes 1071 through 1076, we got to witness the pinnacle of Luffy's power in all of its glory. This final battle between Luffy and Kaido was a joy to read in the manga, but the anime really elevated it between all of the classic cartoon sound effects and the new depictions of Luffy in his most free form. There are way too many great scenes to choose from, but one of my favorite moments has to be his little clap and scuttle he does right here. I have a lot of thoughts on Gear 5th in general, so if you're interested in hearing some of them, I recommend checking out my Gear 5th Explained video linked in the description. Now these next few entries are going to be about the manga, and for good reason, as the Egghead arc has quite possibly been one of the greatest arcs in the series, or at the very least one of the best post-time skip arcs yet. Before we even get into this chapter, we have to talk about the cover, being a promotional color spread for the Monsters anime adaptation that will be coming out next month in January 2024. I recently put out a video going over what exactly Monsters is and why it matters for One Piece, so be sure to check that out if you haven't yet. This is one of my favorite color spreads of all time, with all of our known members of the Shimosuke clan sharing the page. It just looks amazing. Now as for the chapter itself, this was the chapter where we got the reveal of Saturn's abilities. Not explicitly in name, but at least we got his terrifying demonic form. This sent shockwaves across the fandom, as Oda had never really evoked black magic and satanic imagery in One Piece before, at least not to this degree. I go deeper on this very topic in my chapter 1094 breakdown if you're interested. If that wasn't enough, this was also the chapter where Luffy debuted his Gum Gum Star Gun, punching Kizaru right through the head, resulting in both of them falling to the ground before Saturn. Bonnie also debuted a cool new technique of her own with NDE, and we got some new devil fruits from the Vice Admirals on the island with the Ride fruit and what looks to be a Sea Otter Zoan. This chapter was packed with crazy reveals, and I can't help but look back fondly on it. Going back a few months to June, the Reverie flashback comes in at third for me, as these were the final chapters before Oda's month-long break while he recovered from laser eye surgery, and boy was there a crazy way to leave us on a cliffhanger. We got to see the revolutionaries in action during their attack on Marijoa, but of course, the most exciting stuff had to do with Cobra's meeting with the Five Elders and Emu. We got huge lore drops regarding Alabasta and the world government, while also being teased on the true abilities of the Five Elders. This was a huge moment for the fandom, as we still still speculate on what everyone's powers actually are, even crazier for some people who didn't think the Elders had any abilities to begin with. On top of that, we learned the Nefeltari family also held the Will of D, and while all of this was going on, the Grand Fleet attacked the Celestial Dragon, and the rest of CP9 was reintroduced into the main story as part of CP0. Not to mention the final chapter before the break, giving us the full names and titles of the 5 Elders, the reveal of the rest of the Seraphim, as well as ending things off with the introduction of Saint Figurland Garling, the Supreme Commander of the Holy Knights, who, by the way, had just executed Saint Miosgard. This introduction had huge potential implications for people who had seen Film Red with the Figurland family reveal. These couple of chapters easily made up some of the greatest moments of the year as far as the manga goes, but somehow, it wasn't even the best flashback, as our number 2 spot goes to, of course, the Kuma flashback. This flashback has been a long time coming, and it over-delivered. Not only did we get Kuma's backstory, we learned so much about the Rocks Pirates and the God Valley incident, as well as the Revolutionary Army and Dragon himself, all the while painting this vivid picture of Kuma and Bonnie's tragic relationship as father and daughter. Not to mention, it recontextualized all of Kuma's interactions with the Straw Hats and his relationship with Luffy. I don't know if this was just a recency bias thing, but one could argue that this is one of the best flashbacks ever in One Piece, or at the very least, the best flashback post-time skip. There was so much connective tissue in these handful of pages that brought the world together and made sense of so much. Even now, I can't really believe that we got all of this. I will forever remember when 1096 came out, and it sent me spiraling down a rabbit hole of Thriller Bark potentially being God Valley. Now, I won't go too deep into this flashback right here because I cover the entirety of it across several videos on this channel. If you're interested, please check them out. There's some really cool stuff across these breakdowns that people may have missed. They're all linked in the description. And now, for my favorite One Piece moment of 2023. It's got to be the One Piece live action series. I owe so much of this channel's success to the live action, as well as you guys, the people watching my videos. I can't thank you all enough for how much you supported those trailer breakdowns and episode breakdowns, and I personally had a blast going deep and breaking every new trailer down whenever one came out. I remember back in June during the Netflix The Doom event, just being glued to the live stream so I could see the first teaser trailer as soon as possible, and then spending the next few days teaching myself how to make and edit YouTube videos while breaking the trailer down to its bare bones. I had always wanted to make these kinds of videos, and the trailer releasing that day pushed me to do so, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. And then, the next month, the official trailer dropped, and I spent a couple of days breaking that down, and was met with such positive response from all of you guys. I think that's still the most successful video on my channel with almost 180,000 views. Again, thank you for all of that. And then when the series actually premiered at the end of August, you all stuck with me as I took 2 weeks or so to break down every single episode in depth, and I am so grateful for the series and for all of you guys. Those few months went by fast, but in hindsight, it felt so magical at the same time. It felt like every day people were coming together to be excited and talk about the series that we all love. And like most things, the series wasn't perfect, but it sure as heck had the spirit and heart of the source material. You could really see all the passion the people who worked on the show put into it, between all the little Easter eggs and details and set designs, all of which I loved breaking down. I had never felt more proud to be a One Piece fan than those few weeks where we finally were able to share the series that we all love with the world at large. Not only that, the show was a hit. Despite all the naysayers and doubters, the show was so successful that it got renewed for a second season within weeks. It feels like an eternity has passed, but this was all just a couple of months ago. As we look to the future, Season 2 is probably not coming out in 2024, but when it does, I will definitely be covering it in its entirety. I can't wait to get into it, so much so that I will be putting out my long-awaited Season 2 video next year, most likely in January. I've been working on this ever since the first season came out, and I've just been waiting for the right time to put it out. It'll be a comprehensive breakdown of everything that we should expect to see in Season 2, and what I think would be fun and interesting to adapt given the show's constraints. So, if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please feel free to subscribe and hit the notifications button so you can get that video as soon as it comes out. If you're brand new to the channel and have never seen any of my live action breakdowns, there will be a link in the description, and I'm sure you'll enjoy those. And be sure to let me know your favorite One Piece moments of the year down in the comments. I've only been making videos for half a year, but the past 6 months have truly been incredible for me. There have been extremely high highs, such as building the community and seeing so many people respond positively to my videos, as well as some gut-wrenching lows like getting hit with copyright strikes and having to fight against those all throughout November. But either way, I'm so thankful to be in this position where I can continue to make the videos that I want to make. A big shout out to the people both online and offline who helped make this possible. I started the channel with the live action teaser trailer breakdown, but the reason I wanted to make videos in the first place was because I wanted to make the kind of One Piece videos that I wanted to watch on YouTube. Videos that I thought would be interesting, like these in-depth breakdowns of the live action or the weekly manga breakdowns, and I plan on continuing doing this throughout 2024. I've been trying to up the production quality of these videos so they're more enjoyable to watch for you as a viewer, and I have some big plans for the coming year that I'll hopefully be able to announce very soon, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, thank you once again for watching my videos throughout this year and being part of my community. If you're still watching to this point and have enjoyed any of the videos I've put out, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel grow, and you'll be able to get more of my videos as soon as they come out. And with that said, thank you so much, stay safe, have a happy new year, and I hope to see you in the next one.